Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just want to pick up where we left off at the end of last hour. The incredible spin that was offered after the press conference yesterday announcing the charges against the Charlie Kirk assassin and the associated evidence to support those charges. Just let's hear it again. Matt Gutman from ABC News is deeply touched, deeply moved by the relationship between the assassin and his roommate / romantic partner. This was his take on it. This is really, in part, a love story, and we don't want to forget that.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it, but also it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children, which is one of the aggravating circumstances of this case. And on the other hand, he was, speaking so lovingly about his partner. So a very interesting and, as Pierre said, riveting press conference.
Yeah, it was like I was reading a Nicholas Sparks novel, except for the part where a young man is assassinated for his political beliefs, except for that part. Montel Williams, amateur psychiatrist, apparently, picked up on that. This is something that is actually being distributed. Montel Williams on one of those ghastly CNN panels.
There are people who are trying to pigeonhole this as a leftist thing and a right thing. And what we're really talking about, hear me because I'm going to throw you when I say this. We're talking about a love-torn child, a kid. This is probably his first real relationship, and somebody was disparaging the person that he loved. He sat on that building for 30 minutes before he took the shot. Why did he wait until the first word trans came up? Then he took the shot. You think he heard it? He could hear it? I think he could hear it. I think he also, I don't believe he was motivated politically. I think this was motivated emotionally. I think this was a emotionally stunted person who literally, when I say it this way, just hear me, tried to defend his significant other, not trying to defend some ideology.
I think there is an emotionally stunted person here, and his name is Montel Williams. First of all, according to the evidence, he planned this for about a week. So the idea that this was some a love-lorn child, by the way, he's 22 years old. That's a child now? Oh, right. Until you're off mom and dad's insurance in the Obama era, you're a child. 22-year-old child planned this. Knew it was wrong. Thus, he tried to make his escape. Thus, the exchanges between him and his roommate where he talks about regretting leaving the weapon behind and trying to double back to get it. But there was a police car or some other security car, campus security wasn't specific, that was impeding him from going back to get the weapon. He worried about his fingerprints being on it and so on and so forth. Not to mention, in terms of this not being political, well, that was dispelled at the press conference. And it's been dispelled just by the information that's been circulating in the public domain about the family dynamics. Mom and dad saying he had moved increasingly left, increasingly pro-gay, trans. They had arguments. In the text messages that were recounted at the press conference, talking specifically about Charlie Kirk and his beliefs and characterizing them as hate and so on and so forth. And there's a certain amount of hate, paraphrasing, that you can't, with which you can't negotiate. But it wasn't political. It's just a story of a boy in his first romantic relationship, and he's defending the honor of his romantic partner. Are you serious? For more on the topic, pleased to be joined by Jonathan Alpert, psychotherapist practicing in New York and Washington, author of Therapy Nation, which is a forthcoming book out next year. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, thank you for having me.
It's an important part of this is the love story between the assassin and his roommate.
Well, isn't it predictable that the left has more sympathy for the killer than the victim in this? It's it's right out of their playbook. I also listened to some of what you played yesterday, and the left will come up with every excuse there is in the book to excuse this killer's behavior, and you have to wonder, like, how did we get to the point where a killer, an assassin, is being celebrated? I was at a grocery store here in Manhattan hours after the assassination, and I overheard two cashiers celebrating the murder. And I was shocked, but not surprised. And they were doing it with such calm, and it was chilling. So the manner in which they celebrated it, it was chilling. And we really should be concerned about this, because this is what used to be isolated or limited to the dark corners of the internet. And now it's at the local grocery store. So we really should be concerned about this.
Well, right. The only concern that you have so many on the left expressing is what Trump's reaction to this is going to be. Not concerned for what it means for a person to be assassinated for their political beliefs. Not any concern for Charlie Kirk and his young family. Just concerned what the political reaction will be from their main boogeyman. That's how some people have been hardwired. And there's something else, though, too, and you wrote about this in the journal. This sort of romanticizing of this, contextualizing, but particularly the romance is the sort of the fantasy piece of this. And we have evidence of the fantasy piece of this in the mind of the assassin because of the engravings and the bullet casings that speak to meme culture and anime furry culture and gaming culture. And you use a term that psychologists use called splitting, and that may be at play here. And I just wanted you to develop that perspective.
Yeah, and when you spend your time, your thoughts, your energy demonizing half the country, or at least people who voted differently than you, and you label them as Nazis or Hitler or evil, it makes sense why you would then feel it was your duty, or you could at least be motivated to kill someone. And in the DA's report yesterday, I believe he even said that Robinson cited that this person, Kirk, was evil and he had to take him out. I'm paraphrasing, but that was essentially what he said. So that gives us a pretty clear picture into the mind of Robinson and his rationalization for murdering Kirk. And I see it play out all the time, even if it's on a smaller scale. I've heard of people who shoplift and justify it. Well, corporate America is greedy, so it's okay if I steal this pack of gum. So that's small, but it is creating these little monsters that we're seeing in our society, and we need to be concerned about that, and we need to stop validating and coddling people.
Well, another illustration of this, I think, in part, but I want to get your reaction, was yesterday, concurrently, you had 2 terrorism-related charges dropped in the case against the man who killed the United Healthcare CEO. And this was the reaction to people sporting Free Luigi signs and other such grotesque messages outside of the courthouse when it was revealed in Manhattan, when it was revealed that he's not going anywhere. The alleged murder is not going anywhere. He's still facing capital charges, but just 2 terrorism-related charges, a judge said the prosecutors couldn't make out, and this was the reaction.
Pedophile, so I'm glad this is the result.
That's amazing. But that just shows we're all together, right? They were like, they can't let that shit slide. Yep. Guys, this is on everybody, right? Because we didn't let that slide. So you know we didn't let that slide. That's right. Free! Luigi!
Luigi! Can you help us crawl into those minds, Jonathan?
Dan, it's absolutely sickening. This is the enthusiasm I would expect if the Cubs won the World Series, not if a killer had some charges dropped. Again, these people see corporate America as evil. They see Luigi as the folk hero. They see Luigi as the person who fought against corporate America, and their guy at this point is winning. So it's not surprising. Being in New York, I heard it. I see the protest. I see the completely idiotic rallies in New York that support this killer. And again, it's part of validation culture. It's part of grievance culture. Poor me. We're victims of big corporate America, and Luigi has become the symbol of that. He's become their hero.
So this is whether it's the Kirk assassination or the hit on that United healthcare CEO. Is it the same sort of splitting that you think is occurring, where they say basically everything would be better if this person was gone, and we just need somebody to step up and do it, and that person, will have struck a blow for a better tomorrow? Is that the thinking?
Yeah, that's the thread, and that's what I see. And I see it in my practice. I see it in patients, and I see it in the culture of therapy with other therapists, where of course it's not your fault. It's everyone else's fault. If someone comes to see me and they're having a conflict with their, say, colleague, I won't just assume that the colleague is the bad one. I'll dig into it and find out what's going on. But too many therapists these days will just elevate their patient. Well, you're perfect. It must be your colleague's fault. And if you have that mindset and you go out into the world, no wonder you have grievances and you feel that you can go out there and settle the score. So my profession, sadly, is partially responsible for creating this mindset in people. So we've got to examine that as well.
And I got to say, I mean, there's some apparently very popular voices online that I was not really familiar with on the left generally. That I mean, they say things I'm actually quite stunned to hear said with such enthusiasm and repeatedly and in an unvarnished fashion. Yesterday on the show, we talked about this guy Hassan Piker, who has advocated for violence. There was another guy, this gamer / YouTuber who goes by the nom de plume Destiny. This is what he had to say on Piers Morgan's program about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
He was radicalized to a leftist ideology that drove him to murder Charlie Kirk. Now, let me just ask you.
That's just not true.
Let me just
There's
ask
no
you.
way to deal with it.
Okay,
You're living in a
accusing the governor of
fantasy.
lying.
Yeah.
That's your prerogative. But
sure.
If it turns out to have been somebody with a leftist ideology who wanted to shut up Charlie Kirk, would you condemn that?
I won't condemn anything until the president of the United States can go on air and say, all of us need to calm down.
So you won't condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk until Donald Trump says something.
I'm a YouTuber. Leftists and Democrats have been condemning and turning down the temperature, condemning violence, turning down the temperature for a decade. Donald Trump can't go on TV and say, all of us need to calm down.
Right.
Can you tell me why he cannot?
Why
tell
would you
his
expect
side
anybody,
to calm down?
Destiny?
You can't answer that. Can you answer that question? Why can't Trump go on TV and say, all of us should be less violent?
Why do you
can't
think
Trump say that?
Well, first of all, before you even get to the analysis there, Jonathan, this is something else in a separate and distinct show that the same person, Destiny, said about conservatives.
Not exactly like.
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear. Like, I don't know. It's like memes. It's just memes to everybody, I guess. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't care. I'm playing video games. Okay. I'm done today. I don't give a
Jonathan?
Well, isn't it interesting that the party that preaches tolerance and acceptance and peace and love and open communication seems to be pretty opposed to it now, to the point where Robinson silenced Kirk, anti-free speech, with the very thing that they seem to be against: weapons, guns. So,
if you don't comport your rhetoric in such a way to reduce violence, then I'll kill you. That's an interesting proposition.
Well, it's justifiable in the warped mind of the crazy far left.
But I mean, but like the gaming culture, the and some of these other anime, some of these other subcultures. I'm not casting a wide net here. I'm just saying where I guess people like this Destiny dude, from whence they spring. I mean, do you see this in terms of a particularly impactful? They have a lot of followers, people like this guy, or a lot of viewers and listeners.
They do, and the moment that someone puts weight or relies on the gospel of a YouTuber, which I think is probably just part of the incel culture that got some fame and notoriety, we have a problem. Social media amplifies these messages, and you have people who probably don't have a right or the knowledge to put messaging out there, and they're doing it, and people buy into it. And I mean, I see it in my profession as well. You have so-called mental health experts putting out advice, and they have absolutely no clue as to what ADHD or depression is, but they're putting out advice or their own story, and it's misleading people. So yes, I mean, we have YouTubers that are famous. They have a million viewers or followers, and people follow them and trust them. So people probably should think twice about who they're taking their advice from.
Jonathan Alpert is a psychotherapist practicing in New York and Washington, author of the forthcoming book, Therapy Nation, due out next year. Jonathan Alpert, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care. And he joined us in the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
FestGen Wealth Partners knows you're feeling the pinch of rising cost of living.